Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a Senior Manager of Trading and Derivatives Education here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with thinkorswim. And today, we're going to be focusing on trade speed, the order of entry, the speed at which we can enter those trade orders. For some, they consider to be time of the essence, and they're big fans of our tool on the thinkorswim desktop platform known as the Active Trader tool. It's going to be a good discussion today. I think a lot of you are probably familiar with this tool. Others, this is going to be brand new experience. So I think there's going to be a lot for us to explore. Before we can get to that Active Trader tool, let me first of all say hello to everybody that's out there chatting in YouTube. Good to see so many familiar names as always. Great to see you. Hello there, David and Eva, Lawrence, Life in the Fast Lane. Everybody else, thanks for joining us week after week. If you're here, if you happen to be here for the very first time, I do want to welcome you as well. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, well, enjoy the presentation, but be aware that you're invited to join us in a live discussion. This is a Wednesday webcast series, and we kick things off promptly at 2 Eastern. We would love to have you here in the live audience. And as a treat for my live audience members, we also have Kevin Horner. He's going to be hanging out in the chats. He's going to be addressing any questions that come in through that chat function on YouTube that I can't quite get to. Thanks for having my back there, Kevin. And Kevin and I would like to issue an invitation to everybody listening. If you have an account on X, you should be following your favorite presenters there. It's the best place to connect with us in between these live streams. So you can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS is Kevin's handle there. Mine is at Cameron May CS. But let's get into this discussion of the Active Trader tool. And as I do this, go ahead and chat in. Let me know who are my Active Trader fans out there. Are you familiar with this tool? I suspect there are going to be some that are, some that are not. I'll try to go at a pace that everybody can follow since this is a Getting Started with thinkorswim series. But of course, as we dive into this, first thing that we need to do is to consider the risks associated with trading or investing. These risk is real, so bear these important disclosures in mind. The information here is for general informational purposes only. It should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as the sole means of investment research. And investing involves risks, including the loss of principal. Right. So let's set the expectations for what we're going to be covering in our time together today. Today, it's all about that Active Trader tool. So, Gretchen says you poked around with the Active Trader, haven't really used it. Tucson B says you've not used it. DK Gong says I've used it. Eva just says, "Oh, Cam, not me. I'm not an active trader." Yeah, this is not every tool is going to be for every trader or investor, right? But it is my role as an educator to make sure that we're all acquainted with the full slate of tools, a full suite of tools that are available on thinkorswim desktop, so that we're prepared for however we choose to manage our portfolio, right? But yeah, so we're going to get to that Active Trader tool. We're going to use an example chart to sort of envision some trade scenarios and then see how the tool might be used to quickly place those trades. We're going to be going through the tool left to right, top to bottom, point by point. So by the time we're done, we should be quite familiar with the tool, even if this is our initial exposure to it. So let's go right to thinkorswim desktop. This is the trading software platform that can be downloaded for free of charge from within your Schwab online account. You just go to the Trade tab, and you can download that, log in just using your Schwab username and password. That'll launch this platform, and you'll notice that I've logged into the simulated trading version of thinkorswim, or what's called paper money. But this tool that we're going to be using today is available on paper money, also available on the live version. So let's navigate on over here to the Charts tab. And one of the things that can be quite appealing to traders who use charts regarding this tool is that the charts and the tool can be displayed at the same time. And as a matter of fact, it's a tool that enables the rapid trading of the charted symbol. So for today, let's just use PayPal as our example. I have it here, might as well. Now, I'm going to be showing the Active Trader tool, and you can see it over here tucked away in that right-hand margin, abbreviated to AT for Active Trader. But there are some other quick trading tools that I want to make you aware of. They're related. They're sort of streamlined versions of this tool, and there are other buttons here. For example, the Trade tool right up here at the top, the buttons tool, and the dashboard tool. Really, the major distinction between these, there are some slight variations in the tools that are available within each of these, but the major distinction is where the tool is displayed relative to the positioning of the chart. So for example, if I go to this trade tool, you'll find it up at the top. It allows us to buy and sell shares of the charted symbol. To activate the tool, I just click on the acronym over here, or on the button. And to hide it again, you just click on it again and it's gone. So if I go down to the buttons, you'll notice again, trade functionality. We can change our quantity here, buy or sell the charted symbol, but it's off to the right of the chart. And finally, down at the bottom, the dashboard. This is quite a streamlined version, but basically buy or sell. Quantities can be entered right there. So I wanted to point that out since we're talking about using an efficient way to trade stocks quickly using the tools while also having access to the charts. Each of those are variations on that theme, but let's get to our active trader tool. So as I click on this, you'll notice this bears a pretty strong resemblance. The first part of it does to this trade function right up here. You'll notice we have buy and sell, and then other functions, canceling the order, reverse the position, flatten the position, quantity adjustments, and time in force. Reverse and flatten are probably going to be new terms to some people, so I'll make sure that I cover that. But let's hide that trade function again and just focus our energies on the active trader tool. Notice there's the chart. That's nice. We can keep our eye on the chart. Maybe the trader is waiting for a specific moment for entry, and then they can pop over and place that trade using active trader. I will say we don't have to have the chart displayed. We can change the proportions of the two by clicking and dragging the margin in between them. I'm going to leave it sort of split half and half, but we can hide the chart by clicking on the C4 chart. Just be aware, if we do that, the chart disappears and you might hit the panic button. I'm on the charts tab. Where did my chart go? Just remember, click the C for chart again to bring that up. If you ever are on the charts tab and you accidentally click that C, all of a sudden you're going to be looking at blank nothing. Okay, APA says, how do we do an opposite trade on an option? It's a good question. I'm not really going to be focusing on options trading today. You may want to check out some of our other sessions that are specific to options trading, or one of the ones where I've explored. As a matter of fact, let me show you that, where we've explored entering options trades. So sorry for the quick sidebar, but I think it's appropriate. If you have an interest in something that's not necessarily being discussed at that moment by that presenter, be aware that we have a vast library of archives of previous webcasts that are arranged by topic, and they're also searchable. So do yourself a favor, go down and click on the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. If you haven't done that already, you can go down in the lower left-hand corner of the video window right now. Click on subscribe. It only takes a second, doesn't cost anything. But our Trader Talks Schwab Coaching webcast channel is where we host, it's where we house all of our previous webcasts. Now, not every single one. There are some that don't get posted to the channel, but the vast majority do. So I can just go to playlists and look for one of interest. So for example, if I were to scroll all the way down, we have a bunch of these different series. Mine happens to be at the bottom. This webcast series, Getting Started with thinkorswim. I can click on View Full Playlist there, and I can just look down through to find one that's about order entry. And I have specifically addressed Guide to Placing Options Orders. Look at that, from beginner to advanced. So we can do that, or just while we're there on that channel homepage, you can just do a quick search and just type in orders. We go, what do you know? Guide to Placing Options Orders. All right, so yeah, do yourself a favor if you haven't done it. If you've already done it, don't subscribe again because it actually unsubscribes. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. But let's go back to the platform and start acquainting ourselves with this tool. All right, so let's just start with just a general navigation of the tool. Right up at the top are order entry functionalities, buy and sell. We can cancel orders, reverse or flatten existing positions. We can change quantities here. There are default quantity buttons if we want to click through those. We can also customize those quantities. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But down below, as we trade stocks, it's going to track those stocks. Right down below, it'll show us how many shares we bought or how many shares we've sold. The current position right now, we don't have a position, so the position is flat. It shows us our profit or loss since we've opened the trade, our profit or loss just for the day. And then down below, we have something called the trade ladder. And what this does, it keeps an eye on different price levels, and it allows us to quickly, either going to the left to place buy orders or to the right to place sell orders, place those orders by clicking on specific prices for limit orders or for stop orders. It shows us the trading volume at each of those price levels for the trading session. And these columns are also customizable. All right. So all of that, all within just this one tool. All right. So Eva just pointed something out to me as I glanced over to that chat window. I saw Eva with lots of exclamation points. Cam, survey time. Yeah, there is a link that's been added to the chat window. This is so do me this favor. It's not every time that our audience gets the opportunity to provide feedback in the form of a survey regarding their thoughts of how the session went. Now, notice I said went. This session is still going. So if you do me a favor, click on that survey link right now. That'll activate the survey, and then you can just park it, come back to it after the webcast is over, and fill it out once you can give me some honest feedback, having seen the whole webcast. But it's always appreciated. If you take the time to fill out one of my surveys, I'll take the time to read it. And by the way, it doesn't take much time at all. It's 2 multiple choice questions, comment box, and a suggestions box. All right. But thank you for doing that. Thanks for pulling that out there, Eva. Easy as the presenter to kind of overlook that. We try to keep an eye on the chat window, but sometimes things get a little bit active. All right, so now that we know the general layout of the Active Trader tool, let's go up and start to play around with some of these tools. Buy Market does what you might think it does. We click on that Buy Market, and it brings us right to the traditional order confirmation dialog box. This is a market order to buy whatever stock we have charted over here to the left. So this is buying 100 shares of PayPal. It is a market order. So if we were to submit this, we have to know that with market orders, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions, resulting in execution prices that can be different from the quotes displayed at order entry. Now, I'm not going to go too far into the manipulation of this order screen. Just know that it can be edited. If we wanted to change this from like a market order to a limit order or a stop order or something like that, we can click on edit and do that. But let me just delete that and just start fresh. Now, notice as I'm hovering over this down below, it's making a note. You'll see it right down here. Here's the current market price displayed in gray. Prices above that level and prices below that level in 1 penny increments. So if I hover over the buy market, it's actually displaying that order down in that column. Now, I don't want to place for the examples of this discussion orders in 100 share lots. Just let's keep it simple. Let's keep it small. I'm actually going to customize this order default, and this is going to draw from our order default selected in our application settings right up here. So for the rest of this demonstration, let's change those defaults. I'm going to click on application settings. Let's change our order defaults, and let's go with a default quantity, an initial quantity of 10. And then if I want to dial up that quantity, instead of jumping up in lots of 100 additional shares, let's just say 10 more shares. So 10, 20, 30, 40, that sort of increment. So let's apply that as our setting, and notice what this is now doing, saying, oh, Cameron likes to trade 10 share lots in this paper money account, as he demonstrates in his webcast. There we go. We've made that change. But let's go ahead and place a buy order. I'm going to click on the buy market, and let's send that order off. Okay. And for just a moment, you'll notice our order appeared in the orders field here for just a moment, but we just bought those shares, 72.59. Well, that's nice, but sometimes a trader wants to be even faster. Okay, we just bought 10 shares. Let's buy 10 more, but do it faster. I'm going to use this auto send function. I'm going to check that box right there. What do you think it means when we say, hey, thinkorswim, auto send this order? What that does is it skips the order confirmation dialog box. It assumes you know what you're doing. By you, I mean our hypothetical trader here. It assumes the trader really knows what they're doing. They've set their defaults. They just want to be in as fast as possible. Maybe they're watching this tick by tick and they think now's the moment. They place that trade, click on buy market, and boom, that trade is placed and now, in this case, executed. Ted says, can you change the default on the buy button to the dollar amount instead of the number of shares instead of going to edit? Ted, no, not right, not on this at this moment. Some people might have those sorts of preferences, but this is done in share quantities. Let me see what other questions I have. This is specifically, truth will always prevail. This is specifically for stock trading. Let's see, what else do we have? There we go. And oh yeah, Kevin points out correctly, if you do put in the symbol for your options, you can trade it right up here. Yeah, and it'll interface in this way. I was just going to say, let me show you how to get those option symbols. I'm not going to go that far, but in any case, let's go ahead. We now own 20 shares. Notice right down here, it says we have bought or sold. In this case, we bought 20 shares. Let's sell those 20 shares. But I'm going to use the auto send. Notice when I click the plus or minus here, up or down, it's going in those 10 share increments that I just set as my default. So let's go up to 20. Now, alternately, we can click on one of these quick sort of radio buttons. If I wanted to sell 50, I could click on that. If I wanted to or buy 100, I can click there. I can use the up and down arrows. But let's just say, let's go for 20. Click on sell market while that auto send is enabled, and we're going to sell out of those 20 shares. And notice what that's done now. We bought 20 shares. It's keeping the tabulation of the trades here. 20 shares purchased, 20 shares sold. All right, now the rest of these functions are grayed out. That's because these are for the management of existing positions. We don't actually have any existing positions. Let's go ahead, buy 10 more shares. There we go. Bought 10 more shares. I'm going to turn off this auto send for just a moment, and I'm going to create a stop order. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave the auto send off. We already know how that functions. So I'm going to click on sell market. That creates that market order, but it now have the order confirmation dialog box, and that allows me to edit this order. How about we put in an example stop here? So with our stock trading around $72.50, let's say that our trader wants to place a stop, let's say $71. As always, when we're placing a stop order, it's not a guarantee that we'll sell at a specific price. But for this case, we're going to use $71 as our good till canceled stop level. Let's click confirm and send. There's a little reminder down here with stop orders, no guarantee. The execution price will be equal to or near the activation price. Different way of restating what I just said. And let's send this order off. And there's our stop order waiting. You'll also notice a stop reminder right up here. But this has now enabled these other functions. I can cancel orders from here. But what I wanted to talk about, actually, let me show these functions. Now, one thing I could do, let's cancel that stop by clicking on the X. We can cancel it from over here on the chart. If you're not seeing this on the chart, probably because your chart settings are set up that way, you can go up here to chart settings, and on the general tab, right at the upper left, it says show orders. That's enabled on mine, so that's why it's displaying here. I can actually just click right there. Oops, I'm not quite up far enough on the chain. Let's cancel the order over here. There we go. So we've canceled that stop order, but I want to use this reverse function. Now, we could have canceled it right there with that button also, but who's familiar with reverse? What in the world does reverse mean? Well, it's a pretty good title. It literally means, hey, I want to reverse this position that I'm in. Right now, I'm long 10 shares. I own 10 shares of stock. 10 shares of PayPal. Let's say the trader has maybe looked at their chart. Ooh, we're coming up against resistance. Maybe it's time to cash out of this long position and get into a short position, sell something, sell a stock with the hope that if it goes down, we can make money from that. Well, if I click reverse, this is going to say, Cameron, are you sure this is what you want to do? This will reverse your position by selling 20 shares. So it's selling 10 shares to close out the long position, and then it's selling 10 more shares to establish a short position. Now, this is just for example purposes, but anytime a trader is considering selling stock shares short, we need to be aware that there is unlimited risk. That's an assumption that the trader might make money if the stock goes down. Well, sometimes stock shares don't go down in price, they go up in price, in which case the trader's wrong and they might start losing money, and stock shares have no cap on how high they can go. And so there's unlimited risk, among other considerations, when selling stock shares short. So just because I'm demonstrating this functionality, just as always, it's not a promotion for a specific market approach. Okay. Mark says, Cam, can you set up a trailing stop this way, or does it have to be a static fix? Mark, so we could edit through that functionality on the order dialog box. We could do it that way. Yep. But let me just click send. There we go. And we just sold, look at this, sold 20 shares of PayPal. We reversed that position. That leaves us with a short position of minus 10 shares. Now, we're getting quite a bit going here. We've already bought and sold. We've bought 30 shares. We've sold 40 shares. Wound up with a net short position of 10. Well, I want to reverse that again. Let's reverse it again. Let's go back to long. There we go. Back to long 10 shares. You can see how quickly this sort of stuff, it really can enhance the speed of order entry. But I want to reposition us with a stop and show a different way to make sure that we don't stumble over ourselves when we're buying and selling rapidly. It's easy to lose track of maybe we bought some shares and we had a stop in place. Has anybody ever done this on paper money before? Buy some shares, stops in place. Then we decide, oh, you know what? I need to get rid of those shares. And we sell the shares and forget to cancel the stop. That can happen. But let's go ahead and place a stop here. I'm just going to put it in the same place. Let's go for $71. Confirm and send. With stop orders, there's no guarantee that the execution price will be equal to or near the activation price. There's not a commission on any of the trades that we're placing today, but there can be on some types of trades. Let's send that order off. So there's our stop. We own 10 shares, and let's just say the trader is ready to be done. Maybe they're taking a profit. Maybe they're cutting losses, but they haven't gotten down to their stop yet. And so they choose to use this flatten button. Well, watch what this does. As I click flatten, I get another "Are you sure?" message. Are you sure, Coach Cam? This is going to cancel an order. It's going to cancel the stop, and it's going to close the position by selling 100% of that current position. Are we sure this is what we want to do? If I click yes, watch our stop, watch our position. Let's click yes, and they're both gone. In and out. So done. All right, so there's all sorts of functions just right there in that top row. Now, this top row is also customizable if there's other things that we want to see up here. Now, I'll let you look through this menu of things, but for example, maybe I want to add my time in force so that's visible. Let me click on add items. But anytime we see a little gear on thinkorswim, that means hey, there's something that's customizable here. Don't be afraid when we're on paper money. Go ahead and click on the gear and see what's on offer for customization opportunities. So let's click OK. And there we go. Now we're displaying our time in force. All right. But we've acquainted ourselves with the default quantities. There are some default buttons here, but there's also a little gear icon that will allow us to change those defaults. So if I click on that gear icon, let me move this down so you can see how this is being generated. You'll notice we have one row right here. This is actually using multipliers. So when it says +1, what that's doing is it just taking 10 and multiplying it by 1. So that's 10 to fill in this first box. The second box takes our quantity and has a multiplier of 3. So 30 in the second box, and so on. 10 times 5 is 50. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 20 is 200. So we can change our multipliers. So maybe I don't need to see 10 displayed. I don't need to put a 20 in there. Let me just change that to 2 and click OK. And you'll notice now I have that first button is a 20. Mark says, does reverse now mean reverse? Matthew, don't ask me if I know what I'm doing. I'm not sure quite what you're asking. Anyway, can you use a condition when you place a stop order? Mighty Mouse, you can, using, if we were to click on, let's see, you were asking, oh yeah, stop order. While I was placing that stop, I could have gone over to the conditions button, the little gear icon. I'm not going to go through that process because I think you've already seen me demonstrate that. But yeah, that would be available on that order confirmation dialog box. Now, on this customized quantity buttons gear, there's also the opportunity to add a second row, and these are just default quantities. They're not multipliers. So for some traders, maybe sometimes they want to trade 30 shares. We already have 20, we already have 30. Maybe we want to let's do some oddballs here. Maybe 25, maybe, I don't know, 75, maybe 150, whatever. We can just type in some quantities here, click OK, and you'll notice we now have 2 rows, because for some traders, they may just want to be able to click on a quantity, click on buy market, auto send that thing, and it's gone. I don't need that second column, but I did want to display how that might be used. So let's click OK. All right, so now let's talk about what this thing is, a template. Now, this is going to contain some familiar order types to some of you. Order configurations. We have a single order if we just want to buy the stock without a stop or a target attached to it. But let's suppose that our trader has some preferences. I don't know everybody's preferences. I'm going to simplify things. Let's say that our trader is a pretty straightforward trader. They like to buy their 10 shares. And then if those shares go up $2 in value, they're going to sell and take profits. If the shares happen to drop $1 in value, they'll sell and take their lumps. So 2 to 1, maybe that's their preference. Let's set that up as an order template. So there are some default templates here: single, OCO, trigger with bracket, trigger with 2 brackets, trigger with 3 brackets. I'm going to choose trigger with bracket. A bracket order or a trigger with bracket means if our initial order fills, that will trigger 2 other orders to go into effect. One is typically used to sell and take profits. The other one is typically used to sell and take losses. So let's choose the trigger with bracket, and that's going to take our default quantity here, or the order quantity, enter it as our quantity here, but let's change the default offset. This does not know the trader's mind. It doesn't know that we want to sell if we go up $2 or down $1. So let's change this. Let's change our step here, actually, to just +2 or -1. +2 is going to be our limit order. And let's make that good till canceled. -1 is going to be our stop order, and that will also be good till canceled. When they're in a bracket, they have to be the same, and so that default has already changed. But this becomes the order. If I were to send this, I could create a buy market order, and notice as I hover over this, it's preparing to place an order at current market price, an order to sell up at 2, or an order to sell down $1. Now, that's just for this one trade. Well, what if the trader has a habit of doing this each time? They might want to save their own custom order template. So I'm going to click on the little old-fashioned computer disk icon here, and we can give this a name. Let's call this a bracket with +$2 or -$1. There we go. You can call it whatever you like. But as I click save, that's now one of the defaults in our templates here. So if I switch back to single and click buy market, it just creates a buy market order. If I go to my bracket that I just set up and click on buy market, this creates an OCO, limit and stop order. So if I were to submit this order, buys the shares. If they happen to go up $2 in price, the shares would trigger the limit order, sell, if we're able to get that price of $2 above, and the stop order would be canceled, or vice versa. Now, always when we're submitting orders, take a moment to read these red bars down at the bottom. They can contain important information. There wouldn't be commission if we were to submit this, but there's a reminder here with market orders, because we're placing a market buy order, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions, resulting in execution prices that can be different from quotes displayed at order entry. With stop orders, there's no guarantee the execution price will be equal to or near the activation price. I'm not going to send this order off, but I did want to show how to set up a custom template. So that brings us to, let's go ahead, let's fill these back in. We need something in there. Let's go ahead, buy 10 more shares. We'll just leave it on the single template. Click to buy 10 shares at the market. Let's send that off so we can get things working here. We haven't quite filled yet. It's taking just a moment. We'll let that, there it is. Okay. Bought 10 shares. It added to our total running quantity that we've traded today. Plus 10 shares, down 5 cents. So we'll see how those work. But let's now acquaint ourselves with our order, with our ladder down below. Now, I've already discussed some of these default columns. There are additional columns that can be added right here under Customize. But by default, it's showing the trading volume at each price level. We can also place buy or sell orders by clicking in this area next to a given price. So for example, our stock right now is trading at $72.60. If I go down, notice we're going, here's the current price of the stock. If I go lower than that, if I were to place a buy order that's lower than the current price, what type of order would that be? You know, maybe our trader doesn't want to buy at $72.61. They want to buy down here at $72.55. Well, if I go click to the left of that, it's going to create a buy order that is a limit order. I don't want to pay $72.61. I want a limit of $72.55. If I place a buy order above the current price, that's known as a stop order. That means, hey, wait for price to get up to a certain level and then buy in. Trigger a market order at that point. Now, just like a sell order, a buy stop is not a guarantee of a specific execution price, but some traders might use this. Let's say they're awaiting for price to get up above recent highs. What's a recent high here? It might be 73, it might be 74. But I could click here. The problem, though, is that these are increments of only a penny in price. So really, I could only put my limit orders down about 10 cents, and I could only put my stop orders up about 10 cents. So wouldn't it be nice if we could increase the increments here? Well, we can do that. The way we do that is using these plus or minus arrows. So let me zoom out. So as I click on the zoom out, it's going from a penny to 2 cents. If I click it again, it's going to go from 2 cent increments to 5 cent increments, and from 5 cent increments to 25 cent increments. And then from 25 cent increments to 50 cent increments. And then from 50 cent increments to $1. So this is just going to be the trader's preference, but this might be a quick way. Let's say our trader likes to buy and then place a stop $2 below and or target $5 above, whatever. They can set their preferred increments here and then just come over and click to create those orders. Or they can go to the right and enter their sell orders. Trying to sell above the current market price is a limit order. So if I were to click on the ask size, it creates a sell limit order. If I were to click on the ask price down below the current price, that's a stop order. So again, more functionality to speed up the entry, but we do need to know the navigation here. It does take a little bit of playing around with these gadgets. They're really, let's call them gizmos because the gadgets are over in the left column. Now, another thing that's kind of nifty, though, is I don't know if you've noticed this, but as I'm moving up and down this chain of prices, my crosshairs over here on my chart are also moving up and down. It gives me a visual on where those prices are. Or if I go over and I move my cursor up and down the chart, I get the visual on where those prices are on the ladder. You see that? So as I'm moving up and down here, you can see the ladder is moving. Or if I move up and down the ladder, my crosshairs are moving. So let's say our trader wants to maybe a buy stop up at resistance right around here. Oh, that looks like that's 73.36. Good. I can just click on a buy stop order. All right. But if I want to zoom back out, I can just click on the zoom, or rather than saying zoom back out, zoom back in. I can just click on the little magnifying glass with the plus sign in it. And it zooms from $1 back to 50, 50 back to 25, 25 back to 5, and so on. But also, there's a scroll bar over here if I wanted to place my orders higher or lower. But it does get me away from the current price. If I want to snap back to that current price, you can use this recenter icon right there. The two arrows pointing at each other, just click on that. It'll also tend to do that just with the different ticks. So Vic says on the right side of the window you have tabs. What are those? So Vic, we talked about some of these. The rest of these I'm not going to discuss, but we talked about the trade, the buttons, the dashboard there, and this one specifically is active trader. This one is the charts. We covered those 5. The rest I'll just leave for another discussion. That's what those are. But now the final thing that I wanted to show today is that these columns are customizable. Actually, 2 things, 2 additional customizable areas here. Keep your eye out when we see gears or we see menus. We might want to click on a menu and see if that's customizable. So right now, for example, I can see how many shares I've been in and out of today. I can see the net current position. I can see profit or loss since I opened the current trade, profit or loss for the day. But what if I wanted to know, well, how much did I pay on average? Well, I can click on Customize, and let's add that average price to that display and click OK. And now I can see there's my average price. So there are additional things that can be displayed regarding the trading of our charted symbol. We can also change the columns here. Remove columns if we don't need them. We can add columns if we prefer. Let's click on Customize. And maybe our trader likes to see their fills. So let's maybe add that as a column. It's going to show, you'll notice I've positioned it right now. I could change its position by moving it up or moving it down. Let's just leave it at the bottom, which means it's going to be displayed to the far right of the existing column set. So I click OK. There are our fills. I can see, all right, we bought 10 shares here. We bought 10 shares there. Or let's click on that. There are those 10 shares. I can see the price that was paid. But guys, this I think has been a pretty good overview of this active trader tool. I hope it's been eye-opening for those maybe that have some familiarity with it. Maybe it's been kind of exciting for those who have never seen it before. There's a lot to be used here. So I thought it was a good topic for today's discussion. I hope you enjoyed that. This is what we do on Wednesdays. We just take features of thinkorswim and explore them in good detail at a beginner level. So for those that are getting started with thinkorswim, we can follow right along and see the depth and the power of this tool. So everybody, thanks for giving me your time today. Ashraf says how to set a sell order. So Ashraf, that was actually demonstrated a couple of times in this presentation. I don't know if you missed that. Nice thing is these webcasts, the vast majority of our webcasts are recorded and they're posted to our archives on YouTube. So make sure, if you haven't done it, that you've subscribed to our Trader Talks channel. Just pop down to I should point this way, the lower right-hand corner of your screen, a little blue icon that says subscribe. You can click on that. It subscribes you to our YouTube channel. It only takes a second, doesn't cost anything. But just track us down on YouTube called Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcast. That's our channel name. And you can find our webcasts right there, organized in a neat little playlist according to topic. You can also join our live sessions right here, or you can do searches for items of particular interest to you. You can find the archives that might relate to that topic of interest. Also, make sure that you're following Kevin and me on X. If you're not doing that, and if you have an account with X, follow your favorite presenters there. You can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. There's my face with a darker beard. I got Scotland in the background, but there's my handle. Make sure that you are precise when following people on social media. There are very similar sounding social media usernames. So just make sure that when you're following Kevin, it's at Kevin Horner CS and not any variation on that. When you're following me, it's at Cameron May CS and not any variation on that. There we go. So this is the best place to see. It's a place where we can post things sort of as they're developing. If the webcast isn't going on, we don't have the opportunity to talk about it, we can post it here and even get your feedback on it. Hey, everybody, thanks for all the thumbs up. I can see about 100 people watching the live stream right now, and already 32 have clicked that like button. That's very much appreciated. It's a pat on the back to your presenter. It also gives our webcasts a boost in the YouTube algorithm, helps more people find these webcasts and learn about things like this active trader tool. So yeah, anytime you've enjoyed a webcast, like that webcast, click on that thumbs up button. Again, it's another thing that only takes a second, doesn't cost anything, but it legitimately helps. All right, I'll give one more quick reminder. Fill out that survey. I always appreciate your honest feedback. I definitely read through those comments and I read through that data, and it helps. Everybody, go enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you in a future webcast. I'll also look for you on X, but whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.